Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam and we've come to the end of another month. So let's chat about the books that I read in November. I ended up reading 9 books this month and had kind of a mixed bag. I think I've realized in the last week or so that I think I'm in a bit of a slump. So reflecting back on some of these books, I might have been in a bit of a slump longer than I realized, so that might have impacted my reading and enjoyment of some of these books, but let's just chat about what I have read. If you want to see in real time what I'm reading, my Goodreads and Fable are linked down below. I recently, probably about a month ago, converted all of my Goodreads data over to Fable, but I never mentioned that I have an account. So those are always linked down below, as well as my Instagram, so you can stay up to date with what I'm reading. So the first book that I finished off in November is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Out of the Madhouse. This is like a companion novel to the show. This is actually book 1 of a trilogy. And in this book, we're following Buffy and the Scooby Gang with the monster of the week kind of vibe. I feel like these books are fun because of how much I love the show, but never anything super special. It's been a while since I have read one of these Buffy the Vampire Slayer books, so it was nice to be back with these characters and honestly just really made me miss watching the show. So I kind of forced my boyfriend into starting the show over again with me, which reminds me I need to get us to watch a couple episodes here soon. But yeah, this was fun. I found there was a lot of POVs in this book. It's third person. Yeah, it's third person, but we got to see a lot of other POVs. Like there was a couple different bad guys that we kind of followed. So it was kind of confusing at times to figure out where we were in the story and who we were following and what was kind of going on because there was so much happening. But I would recommend these if you do love the show and you do love these characters already, having that background. But yeah, 3-star. Just a fun, quick book, and I'm hoping to get to the remaining 2 books in this little trilogy before I forget everything that happens. The next book was an audiobook, and I listened to A Reign of Rose by Kate Golden. This is the 3rd and final book in the Sacred Stones trilogy, and I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. I really liked the narrator in this one. I think she did a great job, or they both did a great job. There was both a male and female narrator for our 2 main characters. Based on how book 2 ended, I kind of expected this 3rd one to go in a different direction than it did, and it just didn't feel quite as action-packed as I was expecting. And although I was still intrigued and wanted to know what was going to happen and how everything was going to wrap up, it really felt like not much was happening. I also felt like there was a lot of character development that needed to happen with many of our characters in this book, and we just didn't get that enough as I wanted to. And I feel like some threads were introduced for specifically some of our side characters that were really annoying because we just didn't get enough time to really delve into those characters and what they were experiencing. So it just didn't feel satisfying, I guess. I am glad I ended up continuing this series, but book 2 was definitely my favorite. And I would recommend the audiobooks. I think, like I said, the narrators did a good job. The next book that I read was Business Casual by B.K. Borison. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. I really liked this one. I really liked our 2 main characters and their banter. It was so cute. I did find the book moved really quickly, and like I read it very quickly, very fast paced, not really dragging out at all. And I really liked that our main characters had an existing friendship, even though it was more of a physical relationship. Both of our characters also grew together as a couple, but also separately. And I think that was like really important for them. And I just really love the small town community in this one. It was so cute. I really like related to our main characters as well. I just really appreciated how the story unfolded. And again, really glad that I have another series knocked off my list. Next, I listened to Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This is a like shorter novella, I think, that she came out with exclusively on Spotify. I think it might come out as like an ebook later on, but it's just an audiobook for now. And unfortunately, I only rated this 2.5 stars. I thought the premise was really cute. I really enjoyed the video game setting because, again, it's not something that I have read before. I feel like Ellie Hazelwood really does the different STEM fields very well and has like a wide variety of avenues of where the jobs that our characters take place in. Does that make sense? I didn't love the narrator with this one, and I can't remember why, but I just have a note that I didn't enjoy them. I also felt as I was listening to it that I could tell what was going to happen, and it kind of just felt like a huge miscommunication trope, which I really, really hate those. And I feel like Allie Hazelwood does those in every single one of her books. And the more that I read from her, the more similar I realize all of her books are. And I don't know, I feel like her books are so popular that I will always pick them up. But Love Theoretically is definitely my favorite, and all of the other ones have been kind of okay. I felt like both our main characters didn't really know each other, and it was a very surface level book. Like I said, this was a shorter novella. We're following our two main characters in the video game industry, where the companies are joining together to be able to create a video game for a very popular fantasy book series. And they go on this like winter cabiny retreat to try to bond together. And I just really wanted more from our male main character, and I felt like our female main character was really pushing our male main character. And once we figure out what their history is, it just felt really gross. So yeah, unfortunately, this was not for me. Next book that I read was The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I ended up rating this 3 stars. Now, I am not the biggest fan of the Inheritance Game series as it is, so I don't know why I just keep picking up these books, but or at least knowing that they're going to be just okay to me. But I'm a sucker to complete a series, and this is technically a spin-off, but it feels like it's part of the same series. Anyway, in this book, we're following a group of characters who were selected to participate in this game that's comes out of the end of the Inheritance Games trilogy. And I just didn't really like any of our characters. This book and 2 of the next books that I'm going to talk about were actually in a reading blog, so I'll link that up in the cards if you are interested in seeing more of my real-time thoughts. The sort of scavenger hunt, escape room, puzzles and challenges type plot was very interesting, and to try and see all of our characters solve the puzzles, but at different points, all of our characters are solving different puzzles at the same time, and we're not following one character or one group of characters through their puzzles or challenges to completion. We are jumping around between different POVs, and I'm just here for the ride. I'm not trying to solve puzzles at the same time. So I really just felt like I wasn't actually getting anything from the story, because like I was being told these different clues, but I wasn't doing anything with them. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it's just kind of my experience with this book. So I was pretty confused for the majority of this book, but the chapters were very quick and it was easy to just keep reading, which I do appreciate from Jennifer Lynn Barnes' books. I'm curious about what's going to happen next in the series, but again, it's definitely not one of the favorite series that I have ongoing right now. The next book that I read was Confess by Colleen Hoover. I ended up rating this 3 stars. Again, I was pretty excited about this one. I had heard pretty good reviews, and it just sounded like a very interesting concept. In this one, we're following Auburn, who is trying to sort of get her life back together, and we're also following Owen, who is the owner of an art gallery that creates art based on people's anonymous confessions. Auburn inevitably comes to work with Owen, but there wasn't as much of the art gallery confessional plot than I thought it was going to be. It kind of took a twist, and I was enjoying it a lot less. One of the main twists in the middle of this book I really saw coming. I don't know, Owen just gave me a lot of red flags. I really didn't enjoy him or them together. Like, they felt very young, and especially some of the things that they were saying, like, really showed how young they were, and it just wasn't believable to me. Overall, I just felt like I was one step away from the story. I wanted to be, I don't know, more involved in their romance. I feel like I was reading this book or looking at their story through a window and I wasn't actually a part of it. So 3 stars. Again, I'm glad that I read this and have another book off of my Colleen Hoover backlist, but next book that I read was The Frontrunner by Elsie Silver. I buddy read this with bestie Emily, and this was 4.5 stars, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was really cute. I really liked our main character's connection and sort of the misunderstood characters that we're following in this one. I did feel like this book was very laser focused on just our 2 main characters, and there wasn't enough friendships or family interactions as I wanted, and kind of happened with other Elsie Silver books. There's a lot of that found family dynamic, or even just small town family vibes, like in Chestnut Springs. And I just felt like this was slightly removed from that, which I understand based on the characters that we're following, but I love that piece of Elsie Silver's book, so I did definitely miss that. This book was just very sweet, and I really, like I said, loved the characters and loved the plot and the things that our characters were going through. All of the inclusions of the horses were so cute, and just the care that our characters gave to these horses were really nice. Yeah, I don't know, it was solid. Like I said, I'm kind of in like a reading funk, and honestly, November has felt like the longest month ever. And at the same time, I can't believe that we're at the end of the month. So, looking back at some of these books that I read the first half of the month, I feel like I've forgotten everything, and that really attests to the fact that they're not like super highly rated. The next book that I read in November is Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. Unfortunately, this is another 2.5 star read for me. I was really excited to go into this book, and it just did not live up to the hype that it got when it first came out. In this book, we're following Sloane and Rowan, who are both serial killers who kill other serial killers. And this book is marketed as a friends to lovers romantic comedy, and I just really did not feel our main character's friendship at all. Like, the way that the friendship started didn't really make sense, and we didn't really get to see any of their friendship building. And so I just didn't really believe in their connection at all. This book also includes some game or competition that our main characters compete between each other, where they have this specific serial killer that they're both trying to hunt down and get before the other. And I just wanted more of the planning and investigation about our main characters figuring out who the target is for the year. This book also talks a lot about the 2 main characters that are going to be in book 2, and I was honestly just more excited about them than I was about our 2 main characters. So, the next book that I read was Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. This is the first novella in Amazon's winter little collaborative novella series called Under the Mistletoe, I think. And similar to the Valentine's Day one, a group of authors have come together and each created a Christmassy winter themed short story. So this one was Ali Hazelwood's, and I ended up rating this 3 stars. Again, it's kind of the same feelings that I had with Two Can Play, and just how all of her stories feel the same. They're all just kind of the same plot structure, and it just wasn't very exciting. I didn't really like our main characters. That's really all I have to say about this. This was only like 70 pages or so. So it was a very quick read. It was definitely a cute little holiday romance, and it really did have a fully fleshed out story. Like, especially being only 70 pages, I feel like we got a full, complete romance with our characters. Like, we got to hear about their backstory and how they are kind of working it out and like what's been going on with them. But yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't everything that I was hoping it to be. Next, I read Feeling Jonathan Jumps the Gun by Elle Cosimano. I listened to this on audio again. I was really in my audiobook era this month. I just really wanted to listen to everything. I had a lot of books that were coming out or had come out, or I got my library hold for that I just really wanted to read all at the same time. And I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I had kind of a couple issues with the first 2 books in the series, but I think the audiobook is the way to go with this one. I really enjoy the narrator that does all of these, and this one specifically was so much fun. I feel like I'm finally connected to these characters and I actually care about them. And I don't know what was different to this one than maybe the other 2, but I feel like they were a little bit less reckless and it was a lot more entertaining to me, and just the situations that they were in. I feel like the relationships that our main characters have with other characters throughout the story are growing stronger and developing in a way that makes me care more about them. Like I said, I really enjoyed this plot a lot more than the other books in this series so far. Our characters end up in like a community police training camp, and it was just so funny and entertaining, and there were so many twists and turns, and I really didn't know what was going to happen by the end of it, and I'm very intrigued to get to you. I immediately reserved book 4 from my library as soon as I finished this one, and I'm so glad that I'm enjoying these ones so much more than I did at the beginning, because book 4 is out, book 5 is coming out next year, and I actually found there's a little novella that I just downloaded to my Kindle about Billy Donovan's like nanny. So excited to read that in preparation for book 4. Actually, Butcher and Blackbird and the next 2 books that I read were also in a reading vlog from a couple weeks ago. So again, I'll link that up in the cards if you are interested to hear more of my thoughts. But the next book that I read was Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. And this one was a 5-star for me, although the more that I think about it, the more it's leaning towards like a 4.5, 4.75 stars. Overall, I thought this book was really well done, and I'm pretty sure it's a debut novel. In this world, there are 2 groups of people, the Kenta and the Aloha people. So the Kenta have exiled the Aloha people to live on the sea. So the Aloha people are invited to the Kenta docks to purchase any food and supplies that they'll need for the next year. And something happens at the most recent visit that causes some tension between our 2 peoples, and that's kind of the synopsis I'm going to leave you with. That's really only the first chapter or 2, and the story kind of goes from there. Now, I really enjoyed this book overall. It was really sitting at like a 4, 4.5 star the whole time, and like I think I said in the reading vlog, the ending really solidified it for me. Really did not see anything coming, and I thought it was a very interesting plot point, and I think will be further developed in the subsequent books in the series. So the more that I think about it, the harder it is for me to really rate this book, not knowing what's going to come out of how this specific book ended. I have a lot of questions and I really want to know what is going to happen next. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's quite a 5-star because I really don't want to give anything away, because like I say all the time, I feel like going into books blind is really the way to get the most out of them. But as I was reading some other people's reviews of this book, I do really agree with some of the things that they had to say about why they didn't like the ending. So I think this rating kind of hinders on how the rest of the books progress, if that makes sense. Next book that I read in November was Credence by Penelope Douglas. I was really intrigued about this book, and I really enjoyed this book the first half. I felt like the plot was set up really well, but I really didn't love any of our main characters, especially any of the guys. They just felt very territorial and aggressive unnecessarily, and the plot kind of shifted in a direction that I didn't expect it to go and that I didn't really enjoy. I didn't feel the romantic connection between our main character and any of the other characters in this book. Definitely very dark, definitely very taboo, so look into this book a little bit if you are interested in picking it up. We're following our main character, Tiernan, who loses both of her parents simultaneously just before she turns 18 and goes to live with her step uncle and his two sons in the middle of the woods in Colorado. And they all kind of get together. But yeah, I just really didn't love the way that it ended or the character development that we really got from any of our characters. I just really thought that we were going to get more out of this book that we did, or it was going to be different to what it was. I don't know. There was just something about this book that I didn't really enjoy. 2 more books to go. The next book that I read was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was really excited to read this book. I know that this book has a lot of love. A lot of people really enjoy it. And for me, this was a 3.5-star read. I thought it was cute. I really don't have any complaints about it. I really enjoyed the plot. I really enjoyed the messaging. I really enjoyed our characters. This really is more of a general fiction than it is a romance or anything else. But I did read this book really, really quickly. And like I said, I did enjoy it. I just didn't feel connected to the story or characters at all. So I didn't have any strong feelings about this book either way. Like I said, could be because I might be in a bit of a reading funk, or this book just might not have been entirely for me. I thought it was really cute. I really enjoyed the magic and the sense of community that they had at this little mansion. A house manor. The twist at the end was pretty surprising to me. I didn't really see that coming. And yeah, overall, I had a good time, but nothing that really connected for me. But I am looking forward to reading the next book. I think it'll be just a cute springy time. And the last book that I read this month was another audiobook, and that was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the most recent book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. And I ended up rating this 4 stars. Again, I had a great time with this book. I don't really have any complaints. Absolutely loved our main characters. The grumpy grump of the two of them and the tension that they had together and the banter was just everything. I was giggling and squealing the entire time that I was listening to this book. I love the acts of service that Gus had towards Teddy. It was just so cute, and the family and friendship connections just really did it for me. Like I said earlier in the video, that's some of my favorite parts of small town books. And I don't know, I just love these books more and more as the series goes on. And the message that Lila Sage included at the end of this book almost had me in tears. It just touched my heart so much. And yeah, I just didn't get the 5-star feelings, but I really don't have anything negative to say about this book. It's just, I finished it and I was like, yeah, that was a solid 4-star. Yeah, just everything about that book just really encompassed a lot of how I'm feeling, and just the way that they love, and they love so fiercely. The people around them was just very beautiful and a really relatable story for me. And I'm very excited for the next book that's coming out in the spring, I think. But that is everything for today's video. That is all 14 books that I read in November. A very crazy reading month. I don't know how. I feel like I just consumed everything so quickly. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of books for some reason. But that is it. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please give it a like if you did, so that I know. Let me know if you have read any of these books or what your favorite book was from the month. I would love to chat with you. I really hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.